Paranormal Activity 2 is also directed by someone I forgot. I think it's Tod Williams, or Toot, I don't know. And is about this family who's connected to Katie, where they have a break-in and they set up some cameras, and soon, devil, or demon, starts messing with them, and they have to figure out why. Yeah, basically. These movies are kind of the same, I guess. So, I wasn't too excited. I knew these sequels weren't exactly great, but after the first one made nearly $200 million, they decided, let's make a sequel, and this one has a slightly bigger budget, and I bet half of it was blown on the opening break-in scene. It was way earlier than I expected, and that causes a problem with the film, but I'll explain it later. So, the good stuff is, there are some cool character interactions, especially when Katie and Mika are in it for some reason, I don't know. And I do like how it explains why Mika doesn't exactly believe Katie's weird stories, because how, like, the dad character, who's really annoying, but I'll get into that later, is talking about how Christy thinks weird stuff is happening. It's like, oh, Pan fell on the floor. And then Mika's jokingly like, oh yeah, of course, haunted. So I guess it kind of explains why. And explains why he likes the film, I guess, because there's like this cool camera with the flipping thing that you can do, and some other cool techniques, or features, so I guess that kind of explains it pretty well, and I like the addition. Didn't feel like too unnecessary. Oh, there were some creepy parts, especially when the ending was pretty creepy. I like that. The break-in was pretty cool. There's that one scene where you couldn't really see Christine. That was kind of creepy. She was like sitting in that chair. One where the dog is like staring, and then the baby's just kind of like cooing or whatever. Gappy. That was kind of creepy. So there's a couple creepy shots. It's entertaining at times. That's really it. The dad character gets kind of annoying. He fires Martinez after she like does some stuff to like help the house, and it takes an hour around for him to actually call her back, and that's when they decide to be scummy and like pass the demon on to what's her name, Katie. So that really makes me care for the main characters, except Allie, like the girl, doesn't really like it, so I guess she's kind of likable. Same thing with the boyfriend who kind of shows up. He's meh. He's whatever. She's also kind of meh. Most of these characters are just like average. They're kind of enjoyable to watch, but you're not going to remember them. They're kind of just average. A lot of scares didn't really work. And yeah, the dad's really annoying. He doesn't believe anything, and it's really annoying and frustrating when there's like tons of evidence of like a door closing. It's just like, oh, it's the wind. It's like, no, it's obviously not the wind in that scene. And it's just very frustrating, and not really possible for me to like his character. But I guess he becomes a bit better in the end, I guess. But he still does that scummy thing, but you kind of understand why he's doing it. Other than that, yeah, it just really wasn't that scary. The ending felt kind of tacked on, but it was still creepy, but it still just felt a bit tacked on, like, oh, okay. Okay, cool, I guess. And that's where all the deaths come from. It's like the very end, so most of the film is just kind of like pointless. There's a big thing where like all the cabinets fly open, and that was kind of just like meh. I had already given up. Because the film is just very average. It's a very average movie. I skipped like 20 minutes of the movie because it was just really boring. A lot of unnecessary stuff where just people are talking. They're like, no, this isn't happening. And then just people walking around picking some orange juice out. Oh, the pool's too hot. Like, there's some parts where it's like, I can understand why, but a lot of it's like, why did they have this in? Oh, wait, because the film would have been like 70, 60 minutes without it. So I wish they had more interesting stuff happening, because in the first movie, there's like the demon roaring at them, getting that dude trying to get that demonologist, him kind of not believing, her being in the swings, walking around, standing, the door moving about, just a lot more things that are creepy. And the movie was a smaller budget. This had a $3 million budget. And with the break-in scene, that messes up the pacing and like the creepiness, because it's like, oh wow, whoa, okay, that's kind of intense. But it happens so early on, and nothing ever comes close to that caliber of intensity until maybe last 10-20 minutes. So the rest of it's just kind of like, oh wow. Hey, remember when this movie started off strong? It was actually kind of intense and interesting and intriguing. I think the film definitely works in that first opening 20-30 minutes, because it's like intense. You're building the characters. They're kind of enjoyable to watch until he kind of fires Martinez, and then it starts to go a bit downhill. I kind of like the leisurely scenes in the beginning, because I guess they weren't as repetitive, but they do start to get more repetitive. But I guess it's not like so bad. The film's just kind of meh. It's kind of just pretty good, some stuff, pretty bad. Mostly just meh. Would I recommend you watching? Not really. I mean, honestly, I wish they made a cut that just cut out a bunch of the unnecessary stuff. In the second half, it's really the second half, actually, that I really don't like, because it's just so slow. Nothing really, not content, but consequence, or just nothing that's interesting happens in the second part, like the second act. That's one. It's just all just, music, silence, and jump scare that really happens, or like, ooh, toy moving around, or pool cleaner moving around. I guess there's a part where the dog gets hurt, it's like kind of like, oh wow, okay, that was surprising. But that was also, I think, part of the third act, or maybe not, but still, there's a Ouija board scene, because, you know, the first movie had it, and this one's like, you know, the boyfriend's like spelling out pussy, because, haha, funny. And then, you know, start to spell out Hunter's name, and they're like, oh, it spells out pussy hunt, haha. And like, you don't realize that your little brother's name is Hunter, and they're like, wait, Hunt. Hold up, if you're not moving it, and if it's spelling out a new word, possibly, Hunt, Hunter. Oh, shoot. Like, because all the weird stuff happening, she's the one that believes it first, so it's kind of like, are you, like, stupid or something? Hunt? It's not pussy hunt, it's not like a lewd joke. Like, lewd joke. It's obviously referring to Hunter, like, it's just so dumb. Overall, the film's just kind of meh. Would I recommend you watch it? Not really. I wouldn't, like, not recommend you watch this movie. I wouldn't be like, you know, stay away. It's kind of like, ruin the franchise for you. It's just kind of like, meh. I'm gonna give Paranormal Activity 2 a C. I mean, pretty obvious I said it was like, meh. It's not the worst thing ever. I can see why people enjoy it. If you do, that's cool. I just wish there's a bunch more happening in the second act. And I would have said this was a really good film. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I might review Hubby Halloween when it comes out this Wednesday with Adam Sandler and a bunch of people from SNL and other stuff. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of this movie in the comments below. Whether you disagree, that's fine, or agree. Again, we all have different opinions. I could totally see why you like this. That's cool that you liked it. And I'll see you in the next video.